My daughter called to tell me she'd stolen everything I owned. My name is Diane Whitman. And what happened next will teach every parent watching this about the danger of raising an entitled child. Vanessa sold my 1969 Dodge Charger for $26,000. She had no idea it was worth $78,000. She sold my professional restoration tools for $6,000. The real value was $32,000. But the worst part? She sold my Steve McQueen signed racing glove at a yard sale for $150. That glove was authenticated by the McQueen estate, worth $12,000. She called it all worthless junk from her failed mechanic mother. What Vanessa didn't know was that her old woman had some friends in high places. Friends who'd been looking for me for 16 years. So I made one phone call. By the time her wedding day arrived, Vanessa discovered that stealing from the wrong person can turn your dream day into a nightmare watched by 420,000 people online. I'm sharing this story because every parent needs to understand where the line is between supporting your children and enabling their destruction. But here's what I didn't know when I started this. The viral video that exposed my daughter would also expose me. The career I'd been hiding from for 16 years. The accident I'd been running from. The guilt that made me disappear. And standing in that crowd watching my daughter's wedding fall apart was the man whose son died because of my negligence. Sometimes when you set out to teach someone a lesson, you end up learning one yourself. And sometimes the lesson costs you everything. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. Vanessa's getting married to Colin Harrington, investment banking family, old money. The kind of people who've never worked with their hands a day in their lives. I drive a two-year-old pickup truck, live in a modest house on Maple Street in Morrisville, North Carolina, wear Carhartt work shirts and steel-toed boots. To Vanessa's future in-laws, I'm exactly what they expected. Blue-collar nobody who doesn't belong in their world. 3 weeks ago, Vanessa brought Colin's mother, Victoria Harrington, to meet me. This woman stepped out of a brand new Range Rover wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She looked around my garage and said, "Oh my, Vanessa didn't mention you were in manual labor." Manual labor, like fixing engines was something shameful. Vanessa just stood there, didn't defend me. Didn't tell her mother-in-law that I worked 3 jobs to put her through college. That I paid every penny of her business degree at UNC Charlotte. That after her father died of cancer in 2013, I sacrificed everything to make sure she never wanted for anything. Victoria continued her inspection tour, and this old car, does it even run? She was looking at my 1969 Dodge Charger R divided by T Hemi orange paint, 440 Magnum engine. I'd restored every bolt, every piece of chrome myself over 5 years. That car was my pride and joy. The last restoration project I'd allow myself to complete. "It runs," I said quietly. "Well," Victoria sniffed, "I suppose everyone needs a hobby." Vanessa finally spoke up. "Mom's always tinkering with old junk. It keeps her busy." Old junk. My daughter called my life's work old junk. The same daughter who had no idea that the woman changing oil in a small-town garage used to restore cars for Steve McQueen's estate. For Paul Newman's collection. For Jay Leno. That I'd been featured in documentaries. That collectors used to pay me $200,000 per restoration. That night, Vanessa called me. "Mom, I need to ask you something about the wedding." "What's that, sweetheart?" Colin's family is covering most of the costs, but traditionally the bride's family contributes. They're expecting maybe $55,000. I nearly choked. "Vanessa, honey, I don't have that kind of money." "I know, but maybe you could take out a loan. Use the house as collateral. This is important to me, Mom. I want to fit in with these people." "I can't mortgage the house, Vanessa. It's all I have." The line went quiet. Then, "Fine. I should have known you wouldn't help when it really mattered." She hung up. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, she'd been cold, distant. When she called again with her surprise, I understood why. "Mom, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I've been under a lot of financial pressure. The wedding, some debt I haven't told Colin about. I needed money fast." Something in her tone made my stomach drop. "Vanessa, what did you do?" "I sold some of your things. The old car in the garage. Those tools you never use anymore. Some memorabilia. I got $26,000 for the car, $6,000 for the tools, and a few hundred from a yard sale." I couldn't breathe. "You sold my Charger?" "Mom, you never drive it. It was just taking up space. And I needed the money. You wouldn't help me, so I helped myself. Technically, you owe me anyway. Do you know how much therapy I've needed because you were never around?" "Where's the car now?" "I sold it to some vintage dealer in Charlotte." "What does it matter? It's done. And honestly, you should be grateful. I could have asked you to co-sign more loans, but I solved the problem myself." That's when she mentioned the credit cards. 3 cards I'd co-signed for her college expenses. Cards I was still helping her pay down. She'd maxed them out. Another $16,000. "Vanessa, those cards were for emergencies." "This was an emergency, Mom. My wedding. My future. You wouldn't understand. You've never cared about anything except your garage and your old junk." She hung up. I sat in my garage for a long time, looking at the empty space where my Charger used to be, where my tool chest used to stand, the only things I'd kept from my old life. The life before 2009, before Jake Morrison's test drive, before the frame gave way at 85 miles per hour, before I became just another small-town mechanic named Diane Whitman instead of Di Whitman, the legendary restoration specialist. Vanessa had no idea who she was dealing with, and she was about to find out, but so was everyone else, including me. Because when you spend 16 years running from your past, sometimes your past catches up with you in ways you never expected, and sometimes the person you're trying to teach a lesson ends up teaching you one instead. I called the vintage car dealer first. "Yeah, we bought a '69 Charger from a young lady last week," the dealer said. "Beautiful restoration work. Already sold it though. Got $54,000 for it at auction 3 days later. They'd made $28,000 profit in 72 hours on my car. 5 years of my work, sold and flipped before I even knew it was gone." "Did she have paperwork proving ownership?" "She had the title. Said it was her mother's car, but her mother was moving to a nursing home and couldn't drive anymore." "A nursing home?" Vanessa told them I was senile, that I was being put away. She'd erased me to make the sale easier. Next, I called Tommy's Tool Exchange where she'd sold my equipment. "Oh yeah, that collection," the buyer said. "Best tools I've seen in years." Some of those pieces were vintage Snap-on, real specialty restoration equipment, hard to find stuff. "How much did you sell them for?" "Moved the whole lot to a professional restoration shop in Raleigh for $18,000. Kid selling them had no idea what she had. Asked if they were worth anything. I told her maybe a few thousand. She seemed happy with $18,000. They'd tripled their money. Tools I'd collected over 30 years, some of them custom-made for specific restoration techniques. Gone. Then I made the call that really hurt. To Mrs. Henderson, who runs weekend yard sales in my neighborhood. "Oh, the racing glove," she said. "Such a sweet girl, your daughter. Said it belonged to her father who used to dream about working on race cars. Very sad story about his cancer." The young man who bought it seemed excited though. Kept talking about authentication papers. Authentication papers. Because the glove wasn't just signed by Steve McQueen. It was documented, certified, a gift from the McQueen estate after I'd restored his personal Bullitt Mustang in 1994, one of only 3 items McQueen had personally worn and signed before his death. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and started searching. Within an hour, I found it. The article that would change everything. Lost treasure. Steve McQueen memorabilia found at yard sale, read the headline on Classic Car Collector magazine's website, posted 2 days ago. Already 50,000 shares. The article showed photographs of my glove, the authentication certificate, Steve's signature, the provenance documentation from the estate, but there was more. The collector who'd bought it had done his research. He'd traced the glove's history through automotive restoration archives. And in those archives, he'd found something interesting. The glove belonged to Di Whitman, automotive restoration specialist, 3-time Barrett-Jackson featured restorer. The article included an old photo from 1997, me at 39 years old, holding the glove next to the restored Bullitt Mustang. My face was partially visible, younger, thinner, my hair straightened back then instead of the natural style I wore now. Di Whitman, known in the automotive restoration community as one of the most talented specialists of the 1990 seconds, was responsible for some of the most significant restorations of American muscle cars and European classics, the article read. Her clients included Steve McQueen's estate, Paul Newman's racing collection, and numerous private collectors. Whitman was featured in the 1997 documentary American Restoration Masters and was a regular at major automotive auctions. Whitman disappeared from the restoration scene in 2009, and her current whereabouts are unknown. The discovery of this signed glove at a North Carolina yard sale has reignited interest in her work and sparked questions about what happened to one of the industry's pioneering black women restorers. Unknown whereabouts. That was true enough. I'd made sure of it. Changed my appearance, stopped straightening my hair, gained 30 pounds from stress and grief. Moved my business from upscale Charlotte restoration shop to small-town garage doing oil changes and brake jobs. Most people who knew Di Whitman wouldn't recognize Diane Whitman now. But the article went on to describe the glove's value, $12,000 minimum at auction, possibly more given the connection to Whitman's legendary Bullitt restoration. Then came the question that made my hands shake. If Di Whitman is still alive, does she know her belongings are being sold? And if she's gone, who has the right to liquidate her legacy? The comment section was already filling up. Restoration colleagues I hadn't spoken to in 16 years. Collectors whose cars I'd worked on. People sharing memories of seeing me at Barrett-Jackson, at Pebble Beach, at SEMA shows. And then I saw it. A comment from 3 hours ago, posted by someone named Thomas Morrison. I know where Di Whitman is. I've known for 16 years. She's been hiding in Morrisville, North Carolina, living as a small-town mechanic. And maybe it's time people knew why she disappeared. Maybe it's time people knew what happened to my son Jake in that 1965 Shelby Cobra she restored, the one that killed him when the frame failed during a test drive. The restoration she signed off on after working 76 hours straight because she was too proud to admit she needed help. I stared at the screen. Thomas Morrison, the collector who'd hired me for what became my last restoration project. The man whose 2 8-year-old son had died instantly when the Cobra's frame gave way at 85 miles per hour on a country road outside Charlotte. The investigation had cleared me. Called it a tragic accident. Structural failure, restoration incomplete. The insurance company paid the Morrison family $2 million. I'd walked away technically blameless. But I knew the truth. I'd missed that hairline crack in the frame rail because I was exhausted. Because I'd been working around the clock to meet the deadline. Because I was too proud to tell Thomas Morrison that I needed more time, needed to bring in an assistant to double-check my work, needed to admit that even Di Whitman had limitations. Jake Morrison died because of my pride, and I'd spent 16 years trying to outrun that truth. Now Thomas Morrison was about to tell the world about the accident, about why Di Whitman disappeared, about the real reason a legendary restorer became a nobody mechanic in a small town. My phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Diane Whitman? Or should I say Di Whitman? The voice was male, professional, unfamiliar. Who is this? My name is Rick Henderson. I'm a restoration specialist based in Atlanta. I worked with you back in the 90s at a few Barrett-Jackson events. I've been following the story about the McQueen glove. Diane, the restoration community has been looking for you for 16 years. We thought you were dead. I might as well be. I saw Thomas Morrison's comment. About Jake. About the Cobra. Diane, I was at that investigation. I testified as an expert witness. That frame failure wasn't your fault. Yes, it was. The metallurgy report showed pre-existing stress fractures from the car's racing history in the 60s. You couldn't have caught them without X-ray analysis, which wasn't standard protocol for frame inspections back then. Jake's death was a tragedy, but it wasn't negligence. I worked 76 hours straight that week, Rick. I was exhausted. I should have caught something. Maybe. Or maybe you've been punishing yourself for 16 years for being human. Diane, there's something else. Your daughter, Vanessa Whitman. She's all over social media. Getting married to some banking family kid next week. Big society wedding. I know. Does she know who you are? What you were? No. She thinks I'm just a failed small-town mechanic. Someone whose old junk she can sell to pay for her wedding. Rick was quiet for a moment. Diane, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. Do you want to stay hidden, or do you want to set the record straight? Because that article about the McQueen glove has 200,000 views now. Thomas Morrison's comment is going viral. People are digging. Your documentary from '97 is being shared on YouTube. Someone's going to connect Diane Whitman the mechanic to Di Whitman the legend. Let them. Is that really what you want? To be exposed by strangers on the internet? Or do you want to control your own story? I thought about Vanessa, about her calling my life's work old junk, about her selling my charger, my tools, my memories for pennies on the dollar, about her telling dealers I was senile and headed for a nursing home. Rick, how would you feel about coming to a wedding? Rick Henderson wasn't the only call I made that night. Tommy Rodriguez, my former colleague from the Charlotte restoration scene, answered on the second ring. Is this really Dee Whitman calling me, or am I having a stroke? It's me, Tommy. Holy hell, I saw the article about the McQueen glove. Everyone's talking about it. Where have you been for 16 years? Hiding. From what? Jake Morrison's death? Diane, that wasn't your fault. The investigation cleared you. The investigation protected me. There's a difference. I took a breath. Tommy, I need a favor. A big one. Name it. I need you to come to Morrisville next Saturday. Bring anyone from the old crew who's still around, and I need you to bring cameras. Cameras? For what? My daughter's wedding. She's the one who sold my stuff. The charger, the tools, the McQueen glove. She told the dealers I was senile and going into a nursing home. Tommy was quiet for a long moment. She doesn't know who you are, does she? She thinks I'm a failed mechanic who wasted her life in a garage. She has no idea her mother used to restore million-dollar cars for celebrities. And you're going to tell her at her wedding? Diane, that's cold. She stole $58,000 worth of my property and called it junk. She deserves to know exactly whose junk she sold. What about Thomas Morrison? I saw his comment on that article. He's angry, Diane. Really angry. 16 years of angry. I know. That's why I'm going to call him next. He deserves to be there too. Are you sure about this? Once you expose yourself, you can't go back into hiding. The restoration community, the media, everyone's going to want answers. About Jake. About why you disappeared. About everything. I've been hiding for 16 years, Tommy. Maybe it's time to stop. After we hung up, I sat with my phone for another hour before I could bring myself to dial Thomas Morrison's number. I found it through the collector car registry, the same database where I used to list my restoration services. He answered on the fourth ring. Morrison residence. Mr. Morrison, this is Diane Whitman. You might remember me as Di Whitman. Silence. Then, I've been waiting 16 years for you to call. I saw your comment on the article about the McQueen glove. Good. I wanted you to see it. I wanted you to know that I know where you've been hiding, that I've known for 10 years. A colleague of mine spotted you at a gas station in Morrisville, told me there was a black woman mechanic who looked familiar. I drove down, watched you work. It was you. Older, different hair, heavier, but it was you. My chest tightened. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was waiting for you to stop running, waiting for you to face what you did, and now, thanks to your daughter selling your belongings, the whole world is about to know who you are. Poetic justice, wouldn't you say? Mr. Morrison, I need to tell you something. I need to say what I should have said 16 years ago. Jake's death was my fault, not the frame's fault, not bad luck, mine. I was exhausted. I'd worked 76 hours straight. I should have caught that crack. I should have brought in help. I should have told you I needed more time, but I was too proud, too afraid of admitting I had limits, and your son died because of it. I know. You know? I've always known. The investigators lied to protect you, to protect the industry. Can't have the first major black woman restorer blamed for a death. Bad optics for diversity. That's what one of them told me. Off the record. They showed me structural failure, pre-existing conditions, all these technical reasons why it wasn't your fault. But I hired my own expert. He found your inspection logs, saw that you'd signed off on the frame after working 3 days straight. He told me that any competent restorer should have caught that crack if they were alert, if they weren't half dead from exhaustion. I couldn't speak. 16 years of guilt confirmed by the man who'd lost everything. But here's what I also learned, Thomas continued, his voice softer now. My son knew you were exhausted. I found his journal after he died. He wrote about visiting your shop the week before the test drive, about how you looked tired, how your hands were shaking. He was worried about you. He almost told me to give you more time, but he didn't want to insult your work. He respected you too much. Tears were streaming down my face. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are. I've watched you punish yourself for 16 years. Watched you give up everything you'd built. Watched you hide in that small-town garage, doing oil changes instead of restorations. Living like a ghost. You've been in prison, Diane, a prison you built yourself. I deserve it. Maybe, maybe not. But here's what I came to understand after years of therapy and grief counseling. Forgiveness isn't about whether someone deserves it. It's about whether holding on to anger is worth what it costs. And hating you for 16 years has cost me plenty. I don't understand. I'm coming to your daughter's wedding, Diane. Not to punish you, not to expose you, though I imagine that's going to happen anyway. I'm coming because I want to see what you're going to do. Whether you're going to keep running, or whether you're finally going to stand still and face the truth. All of it. Not just about Jake, about your daughter, about who you've become. She stole from me. She called my life's work junk. She told people I was senile. And you were absent her entire childhood, weren't you? Traveling 38 weekends a year for restorations and auctions. How old was she when her father died? 21. She was finishing college. And you paid for that college with money you made being gone. Money you made from a career that took you away from her. Money that, if she'd known where it came from, might have made her understand why you were never there. But you didn't tell her, did you? You hid your past. Made her think you were just a small-town mechanic who'd never done anything important? And now you're angry that she doesn't respect you? His words hit like hammer blows. Every one of them true. Mr. Morrison, why are you really coming to this wedding? Because I think you're about to make the same mistake you made with that Cobra restoration. You're exhausted, you're hurting, and you're about to sign off on something without thinking it through. You're going to expose your daughter publicly. humiliate her at her wedding, teach her a lesson about respecting her mother. And just like with Jake, you're not going to realize the consequences until it's too late. She deserves to know what she did. Maybe. But does she deserve to learn it in front of 200 wedding guests and however many people are going to watch the video online? Does she deserve to have her wedding destroyed? Her marriage ruined before it starts? Because that's what's going to happen, Diane. You know it is. I knew he was right, but I couldn't stop. The anger, the hurt, the years of sacrifice that Vanessa had dismissed as worthless. It was too much. I'll see you Saturday, Mr. Morrison. I'll be there. And Diane? Bring tissues. You're going to need them. Because sometimes when you set out to destroy someone, you end up destroying yourself. He hung up. I sat in the dark garage, surrounded by the empty spaces where my charger and tools used to be, and wondered if Thomas Morrison was right. If I was about to make a mistake, I couldn't take back. But it was too late now. The wheels were already in motion. Rick Henderson was coming. Tommy Rodriguez was coming. Thomas Morrison was coming. And they were all bringing the truth with them. The question was whether the truth would set anyone free, or whether it would just burn everything down. The days before the wedding blurred together. The article about the McQueen glove had exploded. 420,000 views now. The documentary from 1,997 American Restoration Masters had been uploaded to YouTube by someone who'd kept a VHS copy. It had 180,000 views in 3 days. People were commenting, sharing memories of my work. Di Whitman restored my father's 1963 Corvette split window, changed our family's life. Saw her at Barrett-Jackson in '98. Absolute legend. First black woman I ever saw command that kind of respect in the restoration world. But there were other comments too. Thomas Morrison's revelation about Jake's death had opened a floodgate. People were digging into the accident, finding old news articles, questioning the investigation. Was Di Whitman responsible for Jake Morrison's death? Why did she disappear right after the crash, cover up to protect diversity image? Vanessa called on Thursday, 2 days before her wedding. Mom, have you seen this stuff online? About some car restorer named Di Whitman? It's all over the classic car forums. Apparently, she sold some famous racing glove and now everyone's trying to find her. I've seen it. It's wild. This woman used to work on Steve McQueen's cars. Can you imagine? And she just disappeared 16 years ago. Some people think she died. Others think she's hiding because of some accident where a guy died in a car she restored. What do you think happened to her? I don't know. Maybe she couldn't handle the guilt. Or maybe she just got tired of the pressure. Being a black woman in that world in the 90s must have been exhausting. All those white men expecting you to fail. Did you ever think about that? About how hard it might be to break barriers in a world that doesn't want you there? Why are you asking me this? Just curious about your perspective on women who sacrifice everything for their careers. Vanessa was quiet for a moment. Mom, if this is about me selling your stuff, I already apologized. Well, sort of. Look, I was desperate. Colin's family expects a certain kind of wedding. I had debts I couldn't tell anyone about. I needed the money. What kind of debts, Vanessa? It doesn't matter. They're handled now. Gambling? Silence. Then, how did you know? Because I know you better than you think. Because I've seen the signs for 2 years. The anxiety. The checking your phone constantly. The mood swings. Your father saw it too before he died. He was worried about you. Dad never said anything. Because he hoped you'd ask for help. But you didn't. Just like I never asked for help when I needed it. We're more alike than you want to admit, Vanessa. We're nothing alike. You're a mechanic who fixes cars in a small town. I have a business degree. I'm marrying into a prominent family. I'm not going to spend my life covered in grease, working for nothing. Is that what you think I've been doing? Working for nothing? Mom, I love you, but let's be honest. You could have done more with your life. Dad always said you had potential, but you settled, and now you're angry that I want more than you had. I almost told her everything right then, about Di Whitman, about the restorations, about the $2.1 million sitting in my bank account, about the fact that her failed mechanic mother used to make $200,000 per restoration. But something stopped me. Maybe it was Thomas Morrison's warning. Maybe it was the memory of Robert, my husband, who'd raised our daughter alone while I chased glory at auction houses across the country. Robert, who'd never once complained about my absence but had written in his journal before he died, "I hope Vanessa never becomes so focused on success that she forgets to be present for the people who love her." I'd found that journal after his funeral. Read his entries about the loneliness, the single parenting, the pride he felt in my accomplishments mixed with the quiet grief of raising a daughter who barely knew her mother. He'd loved me, but he'd also paid the price for my ambition. And now Vanessa was paying it too, not because she was spoiled or ungrateful, because I'd taught her that success meant being gone, that providing meant absence, that money could substitute for presence. "Mom, you still there? I'm here." "Vanessa, I need to ask you something. Are you happy? Really happy? Or are you just trying to fit into Colin's world?" "What kind of question is that?" "An honest one. I'm getting married in 2 days, Mom. I'm fine." But she didn't sound fine. She sounded exhausted, anxious, like someone drowning and too proud to admit they needed help. Just like I'd sounded 16 years ago when Thomas Morrison asked if I needed more time on the Cobra restoration. "I'll see you Saturday, sweetheart. You're still coming? Even after everything?" I wouldn't miss it. "Mom, I know I hurt you, selling your things. I just want you to understand that I was desperate. I understand more than you think." After we hung up, I pulled out Robert's journal again. Read the last entry, written 3 days before he died. "Diane is a brilliant restorer, but she never learned how to restore the one thing that mattered most, our family. I hope she figures it out before it's too late, before Vanessa becomes just like her. Successful, respected, and completely alone." Saturday was coming. Rick Henderson was coming. Tommy Rodriguez was coming. Thomas Morrison was coming. And I was going to expose my daughter in front of everyone she wanted to impress. Just like Robert had predicted, I was about to repeat my mistake. The same pride that had killed Jake Morrison was about to destroy my daughter's wedding. And unlike a car restoration, I wouldn't get a chance to fix it. But I couldn't stop now. The anger was too strong, the hurt too deep, and the need to be seen, to be respected, to be acknowledged for who I'd been, was overwhelming everything else. Thomas Morrison was right. I was signing off on something without thinking it through, and by the time I realized the consequences, it would be too late. Saturday morning arrived cold and gray. The wedding was at 2 p.m. at the Harrington family estate, a sprawling property outside Charlotte with manicured gardens and a ballroom that could hold 200 guests. I'd seen photos on Vanessa's social media, everything white and gold, elegant, expensive, the kind of wedding that cost more than most people made in a year. I dressed carefully, not in my usual work clothes, but in the navy suit I'd bought for Robert's funeral and hadn't worn since. My natural hair was styled, my makeup minimal but present. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw Di Whitman looking back. Not the 9-year-old woman from the documentary, but a 5-year-old version, older, heavier, marked by 16 years of grief and guilt. Rick Henderson arrived at my house at noon in a black SUV. Tommy Rodriguez was with him, along with a man I didn't recognize holding a professional video camera. "Diane," Rick said, embracing me. "It's been too long." Tommy was next, pulling me into a tight hug. "You look good, different, but good." "Who's the cameraman?" "Marcus Chen. He's a documentary filmmaker. After that '97 film went viral this week, he reached out about doing a follow-up." Whatever happened to Di Whitman? When I told him about today, he insisted on coming. This is history, Diane. The return of a legend. Or the destruction of a mother-daughter relationship. Depends on how you frame it. We'll capture whatever happens, Marcus said. No staging, no scripts, just truth. Another car pulled up. Thomas Morrison stepped out, alone. He was 68 now, his hair completely white, his face lined with age and grief. We stood looking at each other for a long moment. Mr. Morrison. Diane. Are you sure you want to do this? No. But I'm doing it anyway. Then I'll be there to watch, and afterward, we're going to have a conversation you've been avoiding for 16 years. We drove to the estate in 2 cars. The wedding was already in progress, guests arriving in Mercedes and BMWs, women in designer dresses, men in expensive suits, the Harrington family world in all its glory. I saw Victoria Harrington greeting guests at the entrance, her smile practiced and perfect. She didn't recognize me at first, then her eyes widened. Diane, you look so different, almost presentable. Thank you, Victoria. I brought some friends. I hope you don't mind. She looked at Rick, Tommy, Marcus with his camera, and Thomas Morrison with growing confusion. Who are these people? Old colleagues. From my previous career. Your previous career as a mechanic? Not exactly. We'll explain inside. The ceremony was scheduled for the garden, but cocktail hour was in the ballroom. That's where I saw Vanessa, radiant in her wedding dress, laughing with Colin and his family. She looked happy. For a moment, I almost turned around, almost walked away and let her have this day. Then I saw Colin's father, David Harrington, looking at his watch and saying something about getting this started on time. We have important guests. And I saw the way Vanessa's smile faltered, the way she touched her phone nervously, checking something, the anxiety beneath the performance. She was drowning, just like I'd been drowning in 2009, and just like me, she was too proud to ask for help. Mom! Vanessa spotted me and came over, her smile brightening. You made it. And you dressed up. You look really nice. Thank you, sweetheart. You look beautiful. She noticed the people with me. Who are your friends? Vanessa, I need to talk to you before the ceremony. Somewhere private. Mom, we're about to start in 20 minutes. Can it wait? No, it can't. Something in my tone made her pause. Is everything okay? That depends on your definition of okay. Vanessa, do you remember that article you mentioned? About the woman who restored Steve McQueen's cars? Di Whitman? Yeah, the one who disappeared. Why? I took a breath. This was it. The moment where I could still back out. Still preserve the fiction. Still protect her from the truth and the consequences. But I didn't. Because I'm Di Whitman. The mechanic you've been calling a failure is the same woman who restored million-dollar cars for celebrities. The old junk you sold? That Charger was worth $78,000. The tools, $32,000. That racing glove you sold for $150 at a yard sale? It was authenticated Steve McQueen memorabilia worth $12,000. Vanessa stared at me. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that you stole $58,000 worth of property from a woman who used to make $200,000 per restoration, who has $2.1 million in the bank, who's been living modestly not because she had to, but because she was trying to teach you the value of hard work, and you called it all worthless junk. Her face went white. You're lying. Rick, show her. Rick pulled out his phone and showed her the documentary footage. The articles, the photos of me at Barrett-Jackson auctions, at Pebble Beach, standing next to restored cars worth millions. Young, successful, respected. Vanessa looked at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. This is you? You were Di Whitman? I was. Until 16 years ago. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was hiding. From my past. From a mistake I made. from the guilt. Colin appeared beside Vanessa. "What's going on?" "Colin, meet my mother, also known as Di Whitman, legendary automotive restorer. The woman I told you was a failed small-town mechanic." Colin's eyes widened. "The Di Whitman? From the documentary? The articles this week?" "That's me." Victoria and David Harrington had noticed the commotion and were approaching. Other guests were starting to gather, sensing drama. This was the moment where I would expose everything, where 200 wedding guests and Marcus Chen's camera would witness the destruction of my daughter's perfect day, where I would teach her a lesson she'd never forget, and where I would prove Thomas Morrison right. Victoria Harrington's voice cut through the growing crowd. "What is the meaning of this? We're about to start the ceremony." Marcus Chen's camera was rolling, capturing everything. Guests had pulled out their phones. I could see the recording lights, the social media apps opening. This was going to be everywhere within hours. "Mrs. Harrington," I said, my voice carrying across the ballroom. 3 weeks ago, you came to my garage and dismissed me as someone doing manual labor. You looked at my work, my life, and decided I wasn't worthy of your respect. You made it clear that someone like me didn't belong in your world. I don't understand what this has to do with my son's wedding. It has everything to do with it. Because your future daughter-in-law stole from me. She took my $1,969 Dodge Charger and sold it for $26,000. She took my professional tools and sold them for $6,000. She took a Steve McQueen signed racing glove and sold it at a yard sale for $150. Then she maxed out $16,000 in credit cards I'd co-signed for her. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Colin turned to Vanessa. "You told me your mother was helping with wedding costs. You said she gave you that money." I thought. Vanessa's voice was shaking. "Mom, you never told me any of this was valuable. You said it was just old car stuff, hobby projects. Because I wanted you to value things for what they meant, not what they cost. But you couldn't even do that. You called my life's work junk. You told dealers I was senile and going into a nursing home. You erased me to make the sale easier." "Mrs. Whitman," David Harrington stepped forward, his lawyer instincts showing. "Are you here to press charges against my son's fiancée? Because if so, this is highly inappropriate timing." "Inappropriate?" I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. "Your family expected my daughter to contribute $55,000 to this wedding. When I couldn't provide it, you made her feel worthless, like she didn't belong in your world because her mother was just a mechanic, so she stole from me to buy her way into your approval." "That's absurd," Victoria said. "We never made such demands. You didn't have to say it out loud. You said it with every dismissive look, every comment about manual labor, every reminder that Colin comes from old money and Vanessa comes from nothing." Colin was staring at Vanessa. "Is this true? You stole from your mother to pay for our wedding?" "I was desperate," Vanessa whispered. "You don't understand the pressure. Your family, the expectations, trying to fit in. I had debts I couldn't tell you about. I needed the money." "What kind of debts?" "Gambling. Online poker. It started after Dad died. I couldn't stop. I owe $72,000 to different sites. The wedding money, what I took from Mom, it was supposed to pay off some of it before you found out." The ballroom erupted. Guests were talking over each other. Colin looked like he'd been struck. Victoria's hand was over her mouth. David was already on his phone, probably calling his lawyers. $72,000? Colin's voice was barely audible. "You have $72,000 in gambling debts, and you didn't tell me?" "I was going to tell you after the wedding. I was going to get help. I just needed to get through today." "Get through today?" Colin's face was hardening. "Vanessa, our entire relationship is based on lies. You lied about your mother. You lied about the money. You lied about the gambling. What else have you lied about?" "Colin, please. I love you. We can work through this." No, David Harrington interjected. No, we cannot. Colin, I need to speak with you privately. Now. Rick Henderson stepped beside me, his voice low. Diane, this is getting out of control. Maybe we should… Should what? Leave? I'm just getting started. Are you? Because it looks to me like you've already accomplished what you came here to do. You've exposed your daughter, humiliated her, destroyed her wedding. Is that really what you wanted? I looked at Vanessa. She was crying now, mascara running down her face, her perfect wedding day disintegrating around her. Colin was being pulled away by his parents. Guests were recording everything on their phones. Marcus Chen's camera captured every moment. This was my victory. My moment of vindication. The failed mechanic revealed as a legend. The daughter who'd called my work junk exposed as a thief and a liar. Everyone would know the truth now. But looking at Vanessa's face, I didn't feel victorious. I felt sick. Thomas Morrison appeared at my elbow. I told you this would happen. I told you that you'd destroy her, and realized too late what you'd done. She deserved to know what she'd stolen. Did she? Or did you deserve to be seen? To be respected? To prove to these rich people that you weren't just a mechanic? Be honest, Diane. This was never about teaching Vanessa a lesson. This was about your ego, just like working 76 hours straight on that Cobra was about your ego, just like traveling 38 weekends a year was about your ego, just like everything you've ever done has been about proving Di Whitman was somebody special. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. My son died because you couldn't admit you had limits. Now your daughter's life is destroyed because you couldn't admit you were partly responsible for who she became. You were never there, Diane. You chose your career over her for 16 years. Then you punished her for not respecting the career she knew nothing about. Victoria Harrington's voice rose above the chaos. This wedding is canceled. Colin, get your things. We're leaving. Vanessa grabbed Colin's arm. Please don't do this. We can fix this. I'll get help. I'll pay back the money. How? Colin's voice was cold. By stealing more from your legendary mother? By lying more? Vanessa, I can't marry someone I don't trust. He pulled away from her and walked out with his parents. Other guests were leaving too, phones still recording, already uploading to social media. I'd won. I'd exposed the truth. I'd gotten my revenge. And I'd destroyed my daughter in the process. The ballroom emptied quickly. Within 20 minutes, only a handful of people remained. Vanessa sat alone at a table near the window, still in her wedding dress, staring at nothing. Marcus Chen had stopped filming. Even he seemed uncomfortable with what we'd witnessed. Rick and Tommy were talking quietly near the door. Thomas Morrison stood beside me, watching Vanessa with an expression I couldn't read. She looks like I felt at Jake's funeral, he said finally. Destroyed. Empty. Like everything that mattered just ended. She stole from me. Yes, and you were absent her entire childhood. You both failed each other. The difference is, she's 29 and still has time to learn. You're 55 and should have learned this 16 years ago. I walked over to Vanessa. She didn't look up when I sat down beside her. Did you get what you wanted? Her voice was flat. Defeated. Everyone knows now. The failed mechanic was actually a legend. The ungrateful daughter is actually a thief. Is that satisfying? Vanessa, I'm sorry. No, you're not. You planned this. You brought cameras, your old colleagues, that man whose son died. You orchestrated my humiliation. At my wedding. In front of 200 people, and however many thousands are going to watch the video online. She was right. I had orchestrated it. Every piece. The dramatic reveal. The public confrontation. The viral moment that would restore Di Whitman's reputation while destroying Vanessa's life. I was angry. You called my life's work junk. Because I didn't know. You never told me. You spent 16 years hiding who you were, letting me think you were just a small-town mechanic, and then you punished me for believing exactly what you wanted me to believe. I wanted you to respect me regardless of my accomplishments. How could I respect someone who was never there? You were gone my entire childhood. Dad raised me. Dad went to my school events. Dad helped with my homework. You sent money and showed up for holidays. That's not a mother, that's a distant relative who pays bills. I was building a career, breaking barriers, being the first Black woman to succeed in automotive restoration at that level. And I'm proud of that. I would have been proud of that my whole life if you'd just told me. But you didn't. You hid it. Made me think you'd wasted your potential. And now you're angry that I didn't appreciate the secret you kept from me? The truth of her words hit like a hammer. She was right. About all of it. Your father wrote in his journal before he died. He said he hoped you wouldn't become like me. Successful, respected, and completely alone. Well, you got your wish. I'm not successful anymore. Colin's gone. My job will fire me when they see the video. I have $72,000 in gambling debts, a criminal record for theft, and a mother who just destroyed my life on camera. I'm not alone, though. I'm worse than alone. I'm infamous. Thomas Morrison approached our table. Vanessa looked up at him, confusion crossing her face. Who are you? My name is Thomas Morrison. 16 years ago, your mother restored a 1,965 Shelby Cobra for me. She worked 76 hours straight to meet my deadline because she was too proud to ask for more time. She missed a structural flaw in the frame. My son Jake took the car for a test drive. The frame failed at 85 miles per hour. He died instantly. Vanessa's eyes widened. Oh my God. Your mother disappeared after that. Gave up her career, her reputation, everything. She's been hiding ever since. Punishing herself for being human. For making a mistake. For having limits. I don't understand. What does this have to do with today? Everything. Your mother came here to punish you for not respecting her. For stealing from her. For calling her life's work junk. But what she was really doing was repeating the same mistake she made with my son. She was too proud to admit her limits, too focused on the outcome, and too blind to see the consequences until it was too late. He turned to me. Diane, when you were working on that Cobra, you knew you needed help. You knew you were exhausted. But you couldn't admit it because Di Whitman didn't ask for help. Di Whitman was the legend who could do anything. And my son died because of that pride. I know. Do you? Because today you did the exact same thing. You knew this would destroy Vanessa. Rick told you. I told you. But you couldn't stop because you needed to be seen, to be respected, to prove that Di Whitman mattered. And now your daughter's life is destroyed because of that same pride. I looked at Vanessa, at the ruins of her wedding day, at the pain in her eyes that I had put there. I thought I was teaching you a lesson. No, Vanessa said quietly. You were teaching yourself one. You just used my wedding to do it. Marcus Chen approached with his camera off. Mrs. Whitman, I have 90 minutes of footage. The reveal, the confrontation, everything. The documentary company wants to release it as soon as possible. They're talking about a viral mini-doc, The Return of Di Whitman. It could get millions of views. No, I said. What? Delete it. All of it. But this is history. This is the story of a legend coming out of hiding. This is the story of a mother destroying her daughter. And I won't profit from that. Delete it, Marcus. Please. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. All right. Your call. But it was already too late. The guests had their phone videos. The uploads had already started. Within an hour, the first clips would be on social media. Within a day, the full story would be everywhere. I'd exposed Vanessa, but I'd also exposed myself. Not just as Di Whitman, the legend, but as Diane Whitman, the absent mother, the woman who chose her career over her child, the woman who'd been hiding from guilt for 16 years, the woman who'd just destroyed her daughter's wedding to feed her own ego. The whole world was about to see both of us, and neither of us was going to survive it intact. The video went viral within 6 hours, not Marcus Chen's professional footage, which I'd asked him to delete, but the dozens of phone recordings from wedding guests, stitched together by strangers online into a devastating narrative. Legendary restorer destroys daughter's wedding, read one headline. Di Whitman returns after 16 years to expose daughter as thief, read another. By Sunday morning, the video had 420,000 views across multiple platforms. By Monday, it was over 1 million. The comments were brutal, not just for Vanessa but for me. This mother is cruel. She could have handled this privately. Di Whitman was a legend in restoration. Now she's just a vindictive parent. The daughter stole, yes, but the mother was absent for 16 years. They're both wrong. Imagine destroying your daughter's wedding on camera. What kind of person does that? The daughter has a gambling addiction, and the mother humiliates her publicly instead of getting her help? Toxic. Tuesday morning, I got a call from Mike Sullivan at Barrett-Jackson. "Diane, we need to talk about your Hall of Fame nomination." My chest tightened. What about it? The board voted yesterday. In light of recent events, the nomination has been withdrawn. Not just because of the wedding video, because of the Jake Morrison case. That was 16 years ago. The investigation cleared me. We've received new information. Thomas Morrison provided documents showing the investigation was compromised. That you were cleared for optics reasons, not factual ones. That you were actually negligent. The board can't induct someone with that kind of liability in their history. So my entire legacy is erased because I admitted the truth? Your legacy is complicated, Diane. The restorations were brilliant, but the Morrison death, the 16-year disappearance, and now this public destruction of your daughter. The board feels that's not the image we want to represent. He hung up. Within an hour, the automotive restoration community was buzzing, forums filled with debates. Should Di Whitman's past work be celebrated despite her recent actions? Separating the artist from the art, the Jake Morrison cover-up changes everything. Wednesday, Vanessa's marketing firm released a statement. "We have terminated Vanessa Whitman's employment effective immediately. The behavior displayed does not align with our company values. She'd lost her job, just like I'd predicted would happen." Collins family released their own statement through their lawyer. "The Harrington family has ended all associations with Miss Vanessa Whitman. The wedding has been permanently canceled." And Collins family has ended all associations. We wish her well in addressing her personal challenges. Translation: Colin wasn't coming back. The marriage was over before it started. Thursday morning, Thomas Morrison called. "Are you watching the news?" "No." "Why?" "Turn on Channel 14. They're doing a segment on the Jake Morrison case. Elena's talking." I turned on the TV. Elena Rodriguez, Jake's widow, was being interviewed. Her face was older than I remembered, lined with years of grief I'd caused. "For 16 years, I've watched Diane Whitman hide from what she did," Elena said. "The investigation cleared her, but I knew the truth. My husband died because she was too proud to admit she needed help, too focused on her reputation to ask for more time. And now she's done the same thing to her daughter, destroyed her publicly because her pride was hurt." The interviewer leaned forward. "You've been advocating for stricter restoration safety standards since your husband's death. How does Di Whitman's return to public attention affect that work?" "It helps, actually, because now people are listening. They're questioning the investigation. They're asking why a negligent restorer was protected. The conversation we've needed for 16 years is finally happening, but it came at the cost of another person's life being destroyed. Vanessa Whitman is collateral damage in her mother's ego war. Do you think Di Whitman should face consequences?" "I think she already is. She's lost her Hall of Fame nomination. her reputation, the respect of the restoration community, and most importantly, she's lost her daughter. That's a consequence she'll live with forever. The segment ended with footage from the wedding, me confronting Vanessa, Colin walking away, the ballroom emptying. My moment of triumph turned into public condemnation. Friday afternoon, I drove to Vanessa's apartment. She didn't answer the door. I called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. "Vanessa, it's Mom. I know you don't want to talk to me. I understand, but I need you to know something. I was wrong. About everything. About exposing you publicly. About punishing you for being exactly what I taught you to be. About choosing my pride over your well-being. Your father was right. I was so focused on being somebody special that I forgot to just be your mother." I paused, tears streaming down my face. "The video is everywhere. Your job is gone, Colin's gone, and that's my fault. I did that to you. I told myself I was teaching you a lesson, but I was really just feeding my ego." Thomas Morrison was right. I'm repeating the same mistake I made 16 years ago. Pride over people. Reputation over relationships. Proving myself over protecting the people I love. I'm going to fix this. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to fix it. And Vanessa, I know this doesn't help now, but I'm proud of you, not for stealing from me, but for surviving 29 years with an absent mother, for building a life despite me, not because of me. Your father raised an incredible daughter. I just wish I'd been there to see it. I hung up, sat in my truck outside her apartment building, waited to see if she'd come to the window. She didn't. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Whitman, this is Colin. I need to talk to you about Vanessa. Can you meet me tomorrow? Coffee shop on Trade Street, 10 a.m. I stared at the message. Colin wanted to meet. The man whose wedding I'd destroyed, whose life I'd blown apart along with Vanessa's. This couldn't be good. But I owed him a conversation. I owed him a lot more than that. I typed back, "I'll be there." Whatever was coming next, I deserved it. All of it. Colin was already at the coffee shop when I arrived Saturday morning. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. He'd aged years in the week since the wedding. "Thank you for meeting me," he said as I sat down. "I'm surprised you wanted to. I've spent the last week trying to understand what happened, watching the videos, reading the comments, talking to people who knew you back when you were Di Whitman. And I realized something. You and Vanessa are the same person." "What do you mean?" "You're both addicts. She's addicted to gambling. You're addicted to being seen, to being respected, to proving you matter, and you both destroyed yourselves chasing that addiction." His words hit hard because they were true. "I loved Vanessa," he continued. "Maybe I still do, but I can't marry someone drowning in lies and debt. Not because of the money, because I can't save someone who won't save themselves. She needs help. Professional help. Gamblers Anonymous, therapy, rehab if necessary. I know. That's why I'm here. I want to pay for it." I stared at him. "Why?" "Because my family destroyed your daughter just as much as you did. The pressure to fit in, the expectations, the subtle dismissals. My mother's comments about manual labor. My father's demands about financial contributions. We made Vanessa feel like she had to buy her way into our approval, and when she couldn't, she stole from you. That doesn't make it your responsibility. Maybe not legally, but morally, yes. I'm willing to pay for a year of treatment. Inpatient gambling rehab, therapy, whatever she needs. On one condition." "What condition?" "You pay for it too. Not with money. With presence. You show up. You do family therapy with her. You stop being Di Whitman the legend and start being Diane the mother. Can you do that?" Could I? Could I give up the identity I'd been chasing for 40 years? The respect, the recognition, the need to be somebody special? I don't know if I know how to be just a mother. Then learn. Because Vanessa doesn't need a legend. She needs a parent. And if you can't give her that, then stay away. Stop destroying her to feed your ego. He stood up. I've already contacted a treatment facility in Asheville. They have a bed available starting Monday. Family therapy is part of the program. Vanessa doesn't know about any of this yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Does she even want to see me? No, she's staying with a friend, won't answer my calls or my parents' calls, but the treatment center requires family involvement. If you want to fix what you broke, this is how you do it. Show up every week for a year. No cameras, no colleagues, no proving anything to anyone. Just you and your daughter doing the work. After Colin left, I sat in the coffee shop for another hour. Thought about Robert's journal, about Thomas Morrison's warning, about Elena Rodriguez's interview, about the 420,000 people who'd watched me destroy my daughter and decided I was the villain. They were right. I was the villain. Not because I exposed Vanessa's theft, because I did it publicly, cruelly, for my own validation. My phone rang. Rick Henderson. Diane, I got a call from the Restoration Museum in Detroit. They want to do a retrospective on your work. Your restorations, your techniques, your impact on the industry. It could rehabilitate your reputation. Show people that despite the wedding incident, Di Whitman's contributions matter. No. What? Tell them no. I'm done with Di Whitman. That person destroyed her family chasing respect she didn't need. I'm not doing it anymore. Diane, this is your legacy, your life's work. My life's work is sitting in a treatment center lobby in Asheville, preparing to face her addictions because I was too blind to help her before I humiliated her. That's my legacy now, not the restorations, not the awards, not the recognition, just whether I can show up for my daughter when it actually matters. I hung up and drove to Vanessa's friend's apartment, knocked on the door. A young woman answered, protective stance, arms crossed. She doesn't want to see you. I know, but I need to tell her something. Please. The woman disappeared inside. 5 minutes later, Vanessa came to the door. She looked hollow, broken, the way I'd looked after Jake Morrison died. What do you want? Colin arranged treatment for you. In Asheville. Gambling addiction rehab, therapy, the whole program. He's paying for it. I'm coming with you. Family therapy. Every week. For however long it takes. Why would you do that? Because I failed you. For 29 years, I failed you. I chose my career over being your mother. Then I chose my ego over your well-being. I can't undo the damage I've done. But maybe I can stop making it worse. I don't forgive you. I don't expect you to. I just want a chance to show up, to be present, to stop being the legend, and start being your mom. Vanessa was crying. Do you even know how? No. But I'm going to learn. Starting Monday, starting now, starting every day for the rest of my life if that's what it takes. She didn't invite me in, didn't hug me, didn't say anything else, just nodded once and closed the door. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't reconciliation, it was just a door left open instead of slammed shut, and maybe that was enough for now. 2 years have passed since that wedding. The viral video has 3.2 million views. My Hall of Fame nomination was never reinstated. The restoration community moved on without me. Di Whitman became a cautionary tale about pride and public humiliation. Vanessa completed her treatment. She's 18 months clean from gambling, working as a counselor at a debt management nonprofit. She's not married. Colin moved to Boston, met someone else, but they talk occasionally. He helped her get the counseling job. We do therapy together every other week still. It's hard, painful. Some sessions end with both of us crying, some end with silence, but we show up. I sold my garage last year, took the $2.1 million I'd been hiding, and split it with Vanessa. Half went to pay her debts and set up a trust for her future. The other half I donated to gambling addiction treatment programs. I'm not Di Whitman anymore. I'm not even really Diane the mechanic. I'm just a 7-year-old woman trying to figure out how to be a mother after 40 years of being everything else. Thomas Morrison died 6 months ago. Heart attack. I went to his funeral. Elena was there. We didn't speak, but she nodded at me across the cemetery. It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't hatred either, just acknowledgement that we'd both survived the same tragedy in different ways. If you're watching this, know that respect isn't about what you accomplish. Worth isn't measured by what people think of you. And sometimes the most important work you'll ever do won't make you famous, won't make you a legend, won't make you anything except present for the people who need you. That is Diane's story. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? What city? What country? Drop it in the comments below. I love seeing our global community come together over these powerful stories about family, pride, and the cost of chasing respect at any price. Real question. If you were Diane, what would you have done? Would you have exposed your daughter publicly at her wedding? Would you have confronted Vanessa privately about the theft? Or would you have let it go and just cut ties quietly? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button if this story made you feel something. Share it if you know someone who's ever chosen career over family, someone who's chased respect instead of relationships, someone who learned too late that being somebody special matters less than being present for the people who love you. And subscribe for more raw, real stories about absent parents, the cost of pride, viral public humiliation, and what happens when you tear everything down to build something real. See you in the next video.